Well, guys, I just finished watching, and just like that, and ooh, my emotions are all over the place. More than anything, I feel just a little bit sad, just a little bit, just a little. Um, sex, well, and just like that, well, it won't be my go-to anymore, at least not freshly. After I watched it, I do. I'm going to go back and watch it from the beginning. Clearly, I'm not going to be able to erase what I saw in the last three seasons. And just like that, let's get into what I saw and how it made me feel. And I know you guys can tell that I'm just a little bit emotional, but it was tough. I'm going on notes. I'm going on mad notes. It was tough to watch. It was tough to watch because I saw where it was going with Carrie. I made reference to her getting back with Duncan, but that was just me wishful thinking. He was never for her, and she was never for him. That right there was just something to do. Um, she was at a low point because things weren't working out with Aiden. Anyway, let me just get right into this, guys. And this may not be a long show, um, but yeah, I'm very emotional. This is the last time that we will see one of Carrie's crazy hats and her gorgeous shoes, even though she had really gotten into the kitty heels, and I'm just not really into that. But this was the last time that we're going to see this type of thing. This is the last time. Let me just get right into it. Now, I think I mentioned this before. I really want to go to the Sex and the City tour because they had one. I'm hoping that they still have it now that the show is over, but I think they made like 10 stops, and these stops were related to different scenes. Like I think one was on they were in Central Park, on the bridge, at several different places. So I do want to go there. I'm going to have to look and see if they're still having it. Now, one thing that we won't be able to go to is Carrie's apartment because somebody actually brought it and they don't want folks hanging around, which I completely understand. But anyway, let me get back into it. This will be the last time that we'll see Carrie in those magnificent hats and those crazy, crazy shoes and those beautiful outfits. Good grief. If you guys look at my community post, and you can see that I posted a picture of Carrie in all her different looks because she went through some looks. Now, when Carrie was at the restaurant, it reminded me of her and Big being at that restaurant, and she felt like they were in seclusion. But that was the first thing that came to mind. And I said, well, I was thinking this might have been the same restaurant, but it wasn't. It would have been nice if it had have been the same restaurant, at least renovated, and she was just having her moment. And then they put this, what was his name? Tommy Tomato. They put Tommy Tomato in front of her so she would not have to eat alone. I don't see anything wrong with going out to the restaurant, just going on a date with yourself. But I felt like the only thing pitiful about it is the fact that the waitress, I'm not sure if it was a waitress felt like Carrie was uncomfortable. She didn't come across as being uncomfortable. This was intentional, but that right there, it had me going. I think, before I get further into this, I think that maybe Carrie should have had some hindsights. Maybe hindsights of her and the girls together, including Kim Cattrall, Samantha. I think that she should have had some hindsights of them together walking down the street, how they used to walk close to each other. I think they should have had some of those. I think that there should have been maybe an episode, like a portion of the episode when Steve and Miranda had Brady. I think that we should have seen something like that. We should have seen Charlotte and Harry together in their early days. We should have maybe seen Samantha, and I think his name was Jared, the young guy. We should have probably seen something like that, or even the girls hugging. Maybe not even her and the guy. We should have seen Carrie with some of the relationships he had that were most significant. Of course, her and Big, her and Aiden. But I think that because she ended on a note of Aiden, it kind of drowned out her relationship with Big because she felt like Aiden was the one. And it's hard for me to say. I think that Big had her heart more. Not because she really was kind of chasing him. I don't want to say that because he came around. But I know that he was a stronger man, that he had a greater presence. But anyway, I think that they should have focused on all of those things. And then, like I said, show Carrie perhaps with Big when she first met him, like when she was walking down the street and she had the bump and her stuff fell out the purse, and the way she kind of looked back at him and she tripped. I think we should have seen that. I think we should have seen when Hayden. I'm talking about sisters. Y'all come on, reel me back in. When Aiden was, I think, upstairs and she was trying to get back with him after she had cheated on him with Big the first time, and he hollered, "You broke my heart." Which that part broke my heart. I think that they should have probably shown that and shown her maybe running away the way that she did on that day. It was just certain parts that they should have chronicled. There was nothing that they could really show about Lisa Todd Wexler and her husband because they were new to the show. And I think that it was important to just kind of focus on Sex and the City instead of the new characters. But that right there, I think it would have made us cry. It would have made us think more. With Carrie, I think those were the most important relationships. She tried it with Berger and then with the Alex Hunter. She tried it with them, but those were not significant relationships. But I really think that that's the direction that they should have gone in, perhaps while Carrie was writing when she said that she wasn't. What did she say? I wrote it down. She said she was not alone. She was on her own. And I think had they done that and it ended that way, that would have kind of made us a little more sadder. I think that would have done that, but that would have, I think, just really gave us closure in a sense, match with what she said. I think that would have been a good thing, but it's over. It's over. But anyway, going into the details of what happened, Lisa, she was loving that hug that she got from her editor. It was too much for her. It was too much, and she had to talk herself out of the feeling, and I'm saying feeling because it goes in so many different ways. Feeling like FILLING, because he was feeling her up, because a little part of her is empty. And as far as I'm concerned, come on, girl, y'all been together forever, y'all been penciling in sex, come back home. That was a newness that was going to wear off. He was married. She's married. But anyway, she had to talk herself out of it. And I'm glad that she did, because her relationship with Lord, Herbert, her relationship with him, it wasn't really in trouble. They just were having differences because she was so busy and she was trying to have him to focus on his career. So it was her. It wasn't him. He was there. He was available. He would be there whenever she called. But it was her being busy that was the thing. But I think that her flirting with this new guy kind of was the glue to put her back with Herbert. It was truly a staple moment. It was. And so I'm glad that they found one another. Her outfit was baby. I mean, she could dress every outfit that she's ever worn. And as you remember, I think she made it on the cover of Vogue. at the first episode of season 1 when they were talking about it and they were introducing her into the show. But anyway, I'm glad that they found their way back to one another, and that was a beautiful ending for them. I was all in. I was all in on the part where she came back to him and she he had the little food on the side of his mouth, and she took it and she kind of, pretty much kissed it. It was really nothing there to eat. But I just was so happy that she went back home. She had no business going anyplace else. She didn't have a reason, not a concrete reason. Maybe she was a little upset that the lady that she was working with, the editor, had moved on. And maybe a part of her did feel empty because of that, and because her husband lost in the I heard the name of the part of politics he was running for, but I never understood it. But anyway, he lost the race. And so that was the thing. He was down, and she had to be the glue once again. Miranda and Steve, I had to laugh because Steve really wanted to apologize for his reaction to Brady and, getting the girl pregnant. He wanted to apologize for saying the F word. However, he was still saying the F word. I loved that Miranda and Steve had that moment. I love that because it just, for me, it brought back the feeling of just thinking about how they got to where they were, not where they are, because I don't like it. But it just made you think about why this happened, why they ended up together, or how they ended up together. It was, of course, she loved him, but it was more his idea. He wanted to hang in there. He wanted to be there for not only just the pregnancy, but to build this life and to raise this son. So it felt good to my heart that they were supporting each other, that they continued to parent Brady the way that they did. Because a lot of times when there's a divorce, there's a breakup, there's a separation in values with the raising of a child. There's a separation. And not only that, sometimes the one of the parents becomes absent, and the other parent has to clean up the mess, the emotional mess that breakup caused. But in this case, that never happened because they never left the room. Like, they were still available to him. But I like to see them back together. I would have liked for Steve to be not necessarily in the conclusion of the show, because he really wasn't like a big part of the end. Because if you think about it, he's still there with Brady. Brady lives with him. Like, last I knew, he was living with him. So he's still very present in that sense. But he didn't have a reason to say goodbye because he really wasn't there in this season. But I loved Miranda and Steve when they finally got together. He was kind of quirky in the beginning, and she was, I hate to say more successful, but she had reached her goal, and he was still looking. He was still trying to get there. So that put them on two different levels. But I like that they came together and that they had this baby, and it lasted for a while. We didn't get to really see it because this lasted during the, I want to say, down season. But all those years that we didn't see Sex in the City, they were able to raise him, obviously, and do good at it. But they broke up. And that broke my heart when it happened. But like I said, I was happy to see them together just one last time, because I remember her saying, I think it was her, she said to him, we did good. And they did. They did good with Brady. They really did. They did good in just sticking together. Miranda was the one who was still looking for Miranda, and she was not completely full in her relationship with Steve. But I love to see that. I love that they were sitting there and they were sharing a meal. I loved it. So I have to say bye, Steve. Bye, Steve. I always loved him. But anyway, moving on, guys. Seema. Seema finally got her man. I was kind of a little bit, I can't say disgusted, but a little up that he didn't look at marriage in such a way. And there's nothing really wrong with it when you get as old as they are. There's nothing really wrong with it, but for him to say that he pretty much didn't believe in it, that kind of put a damper on things. What really put a damper on things was the fact that he used the restroom with her in there and with no shame. I ain't like that. But anyway, so she was feeling a little apprehensive about things, but then she had to question herself, is that what she really wanted? Is that what she really wanted? And I think that Carrie kind of helped her and helped him she kind of ushered them back in so that she wouldn't, I guess, she wouldn't leave, at least mentally. And he wouldn't, when I say mentally, like not physically, and he wouldn't push her away with his value. So I'm happy that Carrie did go back and speak with him. And I think that it was okay because she knew him first. Now, had he just been Seema's boyfriend and she only knew him through Seema, then it would have been intrusive. But I'm glad that they had that conversation. And Seema, she got her happily ever after, and she deserved it. I liked Seema. I liked her coming into the show. I think that she was a perfect, she didn't replace Kim Cattrall, but, because only Samantha can Samantha. But I like that they brought her in. I just enjoy Seema, so I'm gonna kind of miss her a little bit. Moving on. Okay, when they were walking down the street, Carrie in that chocolate brown jacket was screaming to me. Brown is my favorite color. A lot of people are like, okay, who likes brown? I do. I like brown. But brown, tans, neutral colors, olives, those are my colors. But that brown was singing. Everybody had on a really nice outfit. Lisa Todd Wexley with that patchy, looked like a blazer. It had several different plaids on it. That was gorgeous. Charlotte always brings it. A whole entire, I want to say off-white set. I'm not sure if it was a dress or if it was a two-piece. I believe it might have been, I don't know, it might have been a two-piece. But anyway, she always looks beautiful. She always has. And they make sure, everybody's outfits have always fit. Everybody's outfits have had the perfect cut. But Charlotte, she never missed a beat with her outfit. She looked good. Even Seema, I think Seema had on brown. I'm not sure if she had on some olive there, but I know she had on some banging boots. Everybody looked gorgeous. I don't think, was Miranda in this scene? I feel really bad that I overlooked her. She should have been if she wasn't, but speaking of Miranda, I like Hope for her. I'm really happy that they found one another. Hope is sophisticated. They're in the same line of work. Nothing like Jay. But I think that they had Jay in there in the last 2 seasons because Miranda was trying to find her way and they weren't going to make it easy for her. She was going to have to work her way into this lifestyle, but I like Hope for her. I just like that she's so unexcitable. She's quiet. She's on an even keel. And they just make sense. They make sense. They're both very quiet and they pick up on each other. Hope knows when Miranda is sad or going through something and she feels it and she feels that space. And Miranda does the same thing, but Hope is more, I think, in tune. She's not an emotional basket case like Miranda. Nothing against Miranda. I love Miranda and have loved her from the beginning, the first episode when she was sitting on a bench, I believe, at the park eating those chicken wings. I have always loved Miranda. I'm glad that they got together, and I'm happy that Hope was able to make it to this Thanksgiving dinner. Looking at my notes, guys, you gotta bear with me. Okay, I'm just gonna, I gotta fast forward to something. Karen's dress, Carrie, y'all got to, I'm still in system mode, guys. I'm still there. Carrie's dress for Thanksgiving. I don't know if it was looked to be a two-piece. It was very pretty. It fit very nicely. I didn't care for the shoes. They all were kind of different tones. I didn't care for the shoes, but it worked for her because Carrie, she can't wear stilettos. I can't wear stilettos. But anyway, I have to say that I was really, as I watched this episode, I was really sad at the thought of this is it. This is it. I was really sad at the thought. Let's see. Hope's dog is in surgery, and I felt her pain because I'm a dog mom. I have two dogs. I'm glad that her dog survived because she was not getting ready to show up to nobody's dinner. Period. Exclamation mark. She was not getting ready to show up. Now, Mia, Brady's mother to his child, his unborn child, she shows up with her entourage. I don't even want to call them friends. Just kind of two weirdos. But she shows up with them. One of them is he just lights up the party. He's dancing, doing his thing. Brady is trying to accommodate Mia. Mia is kind of difficult. She's one of those people that she's got a lot of puzzle pieces, and you're lucky if you can find the part that matches this part. She's one of those people, one of those, well, I didn't say that, or nobody told you to do it. She's one of those. But the thing about this is we're never going to know how that ends. The relationship with Mia, how this baby is going to come about. We're never going to see how that ends. I wasn't too thrilled about her, but like I said, that's really just the end of their story. Okay. When Mark was at the Thanksgiving dinner, I was trying to wonder why he was there. Like, why is he there and Charlotte isn't there? Charlotte was at home bumping uglies with her husband because they had been having those problems since he had the surgery from the cancer. So she was at home bumping uglies. So I'm thinking, okay, why is he there and nobody invited him? So he said. Turns out that Charlotte sent him as a way to hook him up with Carrie. That was never going to work. He was a serial husband. I think he had been married like 3 times. And he spoke about this before. So he was a serial husband. Like, Carrie is not interested in something like that. But anyway, she was a good sport about it. The turkey didn't turn out right. I'm not sure if they were able to repair it. Nobody was showing up at the dinner at first, but I think everybody found a way there. Seema, her not coming was okay because she wasn't really a part of the clique. Lisa not coming was okay because she wasn't really a part of the clique. But it was very important for each of the girls, the original girls, to come to the event. So it was really nice. Now, Mark has to use the restroom. Everybody's gone now. Epic, I believe it was named Epic, he was the last person to be in the restroom. They leave. Mark has to use the restroom. I think the cheese that they were having was a bit of an issue. So he goes in, he used the restroom, and it was terrible. Now that part, when the toilet overflowed, reminded me of 2 issues or situations in my life. Like, for instance, at the airport. In fact, this summer, I had to use the restroom. You know, they're the kind of toilets that flush after you get up. And so I got up, and it didn't flush. And I'm like, oh, my goodness, there's a line in this restroom, and this toilet didn't flush. Now, I didn't do what Mark did. I didn't do that. But I was afraid, like, okay, this toilet is not going to flush. I wasn't afraid that it would run over. But that was my fear. This toilet is not going to flush. It did, thankfully. But it wasn't like Mark's. But anyway, and then it makes me think about when I was a therapist, I had to go to the clients' homes. I didn't treat them in the clinic. I would go to their homes. I would stay there for so long. And I would help them with such things as assistant. I can't even think of it. Assistant daily living. I think that's what it was. It's been some time. But anyway, so I would be there sometimes 5 hours of course, I have to use it within that time. And so when I would use the restroom, I would always be super careful because it would be a nightmare if what happened to Mark happened to me. So it turns out there's, I don't want to say mess, but yes, there's mess everywhere. And Mark is lost. He's in here. And you just have to think about how trifling that was, how messy that had to be, that he was in there. The toilet is not just overflowing, it's overflowing. And so he has to come out and let Miranda know what happened. My thing was he should have still been dirty. And Miranda, when she went there and she cleaned it up, and Carrie didn't offer to help, which she should not have. But Miranda was in there cleaning up, and then Hope shows up. The dog has survived. He's made it through surgery. He's somewhere asleep with the other dog. They're resting. But anyway, so she shows up, and Miranda was just a mess, and it was sweet. Hope got down on the floor, though, with Miranda, and I'm like, ooh, this not that clean up in there. But anyway, so that's how that ended. I was happy for it. So now, the ultimate end. I'm looking at my notes. I'm pretty sure that there's nothing else for me to pull from. Oh, no. Giuseppe and Anthony. I loved it. I loved it because Anthony, he's a loving character. He was highly opinionated, but I think every girl needs an Anthony because he's going to tell you if what you're wearing is trash. He's going to tell you if your perfume is not right. He's going to tell you when a hair is out of place. He's going to tell you if the person that you're dating is the person that you should not be dating. Every girl needs an Anthony. But he ended up finding Giuseppe after he found out that Sanford was deceased. Well, he never found, I'm sorry, Sanford, it never came out in the show that he was deceased. He just, I guess, joined a religion and carried on with his life. But in reality, he did pass. I'm sorry, guys. I'm online grocery shopping and doing the show. But anyway, he found Giuseppe. And it was a match. At first, the age difference was a thing, and Anthony, he's kind of bossy, but Giuseppe calmed him down a lot. Anthony was bossy, but Giuseppe came in, he calmed him down. He's a bit younger than him, but Giuseppe had proposed to him, and the way it ended, I think that we're to believe that they're going to get married, but I love the ending for them. Loved it. I'm trying to make sure that I don't leave out anything before I give my final thought on Carrie. Okay, final thought on Carrie before I get out of here. Carrie, last week Carrie went back to her old apartment, and it was very clear that this was not her apartment. They had changed some rooms around, looked like they had knocked down some walls and changed it into something different. And that was hard to watch because her apartment was her apartment was like a cast member. Her apartment was like a friend. Like, her apartment held a lot of memories for the girls and a lot of memories for Carrie and Big and Aiden and Carrie and then some of the other guys that flew through there, but it was a cast member. The apartment was a person. She moved into this big home that she kept saying was hers and Aiden, and that pissed me off every time because Aiden didn't have nothing on this place. You guys are not married. It's fine for them to live together, but to give him so much credit, like our home, our place. No, it wasn't. No, it was not. Aiden didn't even look like he fit in with the place. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. But anyway, here she is. She walked into this apartment. I think she was going to take her shoe off, but she kept it on. If she kept it on, I believe she did. No, she took it off. So, I don't want to say anything because I was going to relate it to how she would keep her shoes on when Duncan stayed downstairs. So I don't want to relate it to that. It may have been symbolic of her getting comfortable in her life, in her new reality. That might have been symbolic of that. But I thought that when she put on the karaoke machine, and you got to dig back. Do you remember that song that Big used to play. It was his favorite song. When he moved out, before he moved out of his apartment, I think the only thing he had left in there was a few boxes in the record player. But he really loved this song. I can't remember not only the name, I don't even remember the melody. But I thought that perhaps they might have put that song on. I know I'm going so far out of how the story should have ended, but Big was a very, very big. He was a huge part of Carrie, a huge part of Sex in the City because he was there when it began. You guys have to excuse my phone. Anyway, so because he was there, he at the beginning, he was a big part. If I was to do a team Aiden and a team Mr. Big, I may have to go with Team Mr. Big because he finally got there and he was sticking and staying. Aiden never got there. He tried for a minute, but he couldn't stick and stay because he was never there. He couldn't stick and stay. He was never there. So I think that, like I said, I think that they should have did a rewind, a hindsight, and that would have been beautiful because we would have seen all the different looks that each of the girls had. And for people who are die-hard, I remember all the looks that they had in the evolution. So, yeah, so Carrie ended up by herself, not lonely. She ended up by herself. Carrie had never been by herself. Carrie had always been searching for something, searching for somebody. She'd always been looking, and if you go back to the blog that she was writing, well, she called it an article. In this day, it was a blog. You have to go back to the subject matters. Carrie was always looking for somebody and talking about things that happen in the world of relationships and sex. And it just didn't happen for her. I don't know how it would feel if Carrie would have actually gotten, I'm not going to say she didn't get her happy ending or her happily ever after, because obviously her happily ever after did not consist of a Prince Charming in a glass slipper. So her happily ever after is a different happily ever after. But the way it ended just like it started. She's sitting in the window. She has her computer up, but instead of her, no, I think this was the end of the book that she was writing. This was the end of the book that she was writing, which is symbolic of this is the end of the book, the end of the story, the end of it all. And it's just sad. I'm really sad sitting here with you guys. I am sad to see it go. I'm so sad. And if it had gone the way that I just said that I felt it would have gone, it would have been even more difficult to see. But we would have, there would have been a rewind for us. But since they didn't rewind it, I think I just rewound it for you guys. So that is the last of Sex in the City, and just like that. So guys, I'll be talking to you soon. I think I'll be talking to you next when I am talking about, I think, Sisters. I have that coming up next. But yeah, guys, I'm glad you're listening. And just like that, I gotta go.